There are two candidates left. We're able to hear what she says. We're able to hear what he says. We're able to process it. And once again, what he says makes a whole lot more sense than that crazy stuff she's talking about.
Amarosa, you're going to be joining us tomorrow. Look forward to seeing you again. And what are your thoughts on all this?
You know, I think it's important to note that the African-American community has been extremely loyal to the Democrats, but unfortunately, the Democrats have not been loyal to African-Americans. Among those statistics that you mentioned, we also saw home ownership among African-Americans drop significantly. When you look at a city like Chicago, where 60% of the young African-American men are either unemployed or not in school, we are failing the community, and Donald Trump wants to bring change to the inner city.
And he's reaching in deep. He keeps giving speech after speech and black church after black church. He's saying, I want your vote. I'll fix the educational system.
He's willing to earn it. He's not going to take the African-American community for granted, as the Democrats continue to do.
And I like that he's asking for those votes, because Republicans, frankly, in the past have not done enough outreach.
That's exactly right. Somebody asked me today, what is the secret? Why is Trump increasing his support among black voters? According to one poll, up to 19.6. And if that's true, that's just astonishing. I said it's very simple.
That was the Pew poll.
Yeah, very simple. He's asking for black votes. That usually doesn't happen. Usually Democrats say, well, they're going to win, so we'll just blow them off.
He takes it personally as a personal insult.
Really an astonishing comment that somehow that we owe it, we're his property and we're supposed to do as our master says, or something like that. That's just appalling. And I think that Trump is doing the right thing. He's going out and asking for black votes, which is unusual. And he's doing so on very specific issues, like school choice, for example. He's very, very specific about school choice. He wants to have a block grant program to give states, I believe it's $20 billion that they can use for school choice initiatives. And you look at Hillary Trump, and she's completely a tool of the teachers.
Preparing for the interview?
Yeah. Waters World homework.
Right here?
Right here.
0.2.
Hello. Did you watch the debate at all?
No, I was drinking margaritas.
What did you do last night instead of watch the debate?
Oh, last night I got really tired. Me and my friends were hanging out and we had a fight and I went to sleep.
Brilliant. For shizzle dizzle.
It was on at 9. I fell asleep. Too much of the no. Just some of the other stuff?
That's right. Is that a joint, man?
Do you know where the debate was?
Miami.
Long Island.
Hawaii.
Who won last night?
Not Hillary Clinton.
Trump killed it.
Oh, Donald Trump.
Who won last night?
Hillary.
She beat the out of Donald Trump. It's like a boxing match, right? Hillary hit him with a 1-2. Bing, bing. I'm yelling at the TV. Donald, do something. Do something. Do something. You didn't do it. It was a boxing match. You said that already!
Tell me why you think Hillary won.
She seemed a little more confident. Whenever she would speak, Donald would kind of steal some of her ideas and repeat them. It would have been nice to see him kind of go off of his own opinions.
He chumps everyone up. He just shuts everyone's mouth up. He's like, yeah, whatever.
Are you going to vote in November?
I'm going to vote for Donald.
Really?
I didn't see that one coming, no.
How do you think Lester Holt moderated?
I think he was good about time management.
I think he interjected a lot on Trump. I think he was softer on Hillary.
He didn't bring up Benghazi. He didn't bring up the Clinton Foundation. He didn't bring up any of her lies.
Last night in the debate, Hillary didn't, like, stop and frisk.
She just went on. She ain't stopped and frisk. She did what she had to do.
I don't know what that means.
Have you ever been stopped and frisked?
All the time. I got off the train and got right there, and I had a knife on me, but it was a brand new knife from the store.
You don't have a knife on you now, right?
No, I don't have a knife on me now.
Just checking.
That's a knife.
You don't care if people pat you down?
They're going to do what they're going to do.
Do you think we should stop and frisk Trump?
Yes, everything. He's packing everything. That's why the ISIS is here.
Trump and Hillary battled over ISIS.
It was nice to see her actually say ISIS.
What's the most important issue facing you in America?
I don't have any problems.
You don't look so good.
Donald Trump said Hillary's been in public life for 30 years. All of a sudden she's looking for solutions?
I agreed with that statement 100%.
Trump says he's not going to release his tax returns unless Hillary releases her 30,000 deleted emails.
That's a good idea. We're trying to figure out what's in her emails, and she's deleting it.
Do you delete your emails?
Yeah, immediately.
Oh, hell no.
Whose world is it?
Trump's world.
Do you know who I am?
Jesse Waters.
I don't even have to do this.
And this is your world.
You beat me to it.
All right, here's Waters. What percentage of people you speak to do you consider in some form of inebriation?
Including me?
Let's put you aside for a moment. We'll drug test you right after the show. But
I would say in Port Authority, maybe 10 to 15%.
all right, so 10 to 15%.
Yes.
But that doesn't stop you, does it? No.
That encourages me.
You're right. You might even encourage the guy with the clown nose. Was there a reason for him wearing that?
I'm going to go with drugs.
I mean, was he involved in any circus activity that you could see?
He hit me with a squirt gun after the interview.
Right. And this is a Yale graduate, you know, right?
Yes.
And this guy, he ought to have his own show.
Yes.
That guy.
Yeah, we're going to put him at 4 o'clock.
In fact, Harry, you don't know this, but even after you left, he continued. Right?
Yeah, the cameras weren't even there.
New York City, I mean, the best SOT, sound on tape, in the world. Waters, everybody, there he is.
Thank you, Jimmy. We will not waver in our commitment to see that justice is done for this terrible act in Benghazi. And make no mistake, justice will be done. That was the President of the United States over a year ago. We're investigating exactly what happened, but my biggest priority now is bringing those folks to justice. That was the President of the United States over a year ago. No one has been arrested. No one has been prosecuted. No one has been brought to justice. We don't even have access to the witnesses. You and the media were good enough for my 16 years as a prosecutor not to tell me how to do my job. And so far in Congress, y'all have been good enough not to tell me how to do my job. I'm not telling you how to do your job. But I'm going to ask you some questions, and if you can't answer these questions, then I'll leave you to draw whatever conclusion you want to draw about whether or not the media has provided sufficient oversight. Can you tell me why Chris Stevens was in Benghazi the night that he was killed? Do you know? Does it bother you whether or not you know why Chris Stevens was in Benghazi? Do you know why we were the last flag flying in Benghazi after the British had left and the Red Cross had been bombed? Do you know why requests for additional security were denied? Do you know why an ambassador asking for more security days and weeks before he was murdered and those requests went unheeded? Do you know the answer to why those requests went unheeded? Do you know why no assets were deployed during the siege? And I've heard the explanation, which defies logic, frankly, that we couldn't have gotten there in time. But you know, they didn't know when it was going to end. So how can you possibly cite that as an excuse? Do you know whether the president called any of our allies and said, can you help? We have men under attack. Can you answer that? Do any of you know why Susan Rice was picked? The Secretary of State did not go. She says she doesn't like Sunday talk shows. That's the only media venue she does not like, if that's true. Why was Susan Rice on the 5 Sunday talk shows? Do you know the origin of this mythology that it was spawned as a spontaneous reaction to a video? Do you know where that started? Do you know how we got from no evidence of that to that being the official position of the administration? In conclusion, Congress is supposed to provide oversight. The voters are supposed to provide oversight. And you were supposed to provide oversight. That's why you have special liberties, and that's why you have special protections. I am not surprised that the President of the United States called this a phony scandal. I'm not surprised that Secretary Clinton asked, what difference does it make? I'm not even surprised that Jay Carney said Benghazi happened a long time ago. I'm just surprised at how many people bought it.
The election is rigged. It's a rigged system. It's a rigged election. This is a rigged system, folks. The process is rigged. This whole election is being rigged. These lies spread by the media without witnesses, without backup or anything else, are poisoning the minds of the electorate.
There you hear Donald Trump ramping up his claims that the media are biased and that the election is rigged. The Republican nominee taking it even further, suggesting the polls are rigged as well. Just this morning he tweets, quote, "Of course there is large-scale voter fraud happening on and before Election Day. Why do Republican leaders deny what is going on? So naive." Let's talk about it with today's media panel. Kelly Riddell is a columnist and commentary writer for the Washington Times. Lynn Sweet is Washington bureau chief for the Chicago Sun-Times. And Alan Colmes, of course, you know, host of the Alan Colmes Show, nationally syndicated by Fox News Radio. Lynn, to you first, and just focusing on the polls. Polls have been wrong before. Could Donald Trump have an argument that the polls are tilted against him?
The polls writ large are, no, he doesn't have an argument unless he tells you where and what jurisdiction he's worried about. And if he had a real campaign, then his next announcement would be that the lawyers for Trump squad would be in a particular jurisdiction trying to make sure that the vote is fair. That's what happens when you suspect voter fraud. There are thousands, I believe, thousands of voting jurisdictions throughout the United States. You just can't make this blanket accusation, John, and have it make any sense without some facts behind it. So this assertion is not a fact-free one. You need to bring some evidence of a problem. He has not.
A couple of his surrogates and supporters, Rudy Giuliani, Newt Gingrich, were on the Sunday morning chat shows yesterday, and they sort of amplified on the claim that Donald Trump is making. I want to play this for you now.
When he talks about a rigged election, he's not talking about the fact that it's going to be rigged at the polls. What he's talking about is that 80 to 85% of the media is against him. That when you look at the New York Times, you pick it up every morning, on the top of the paper, there are 3 stories that are anti-Trump. Some of them totally baseless, some of them silly.
I think that without the unending one-sided assault of news media, Trump would be beating Hillary by 15 points.
Kelly, take that on. Would Donald Trump be doing much better if the media weren't piling on?
Well, I think the fact that he's only losing to Hillary Clinton by 4 points in the latest Washington Post poll speaks to that. I mean, the media is throwing everything but the kitchen sink at Donald Trump, and then they're throwing the kitchen sink at him. Over the past week, by a 7-to-1 margin, Donald Trump's sex scandal was covered compared to the WikiLeaks scandal by the news media, and this just shows a blatant bias. It's Donald Trump against the media, against the Democrats, and against those in his own Republican Party. So what he needs to do is he needs to rile up the base, and this is an issue with the right-leaning in the conservative base. Is there are legitimate fears of voter fraud going on, and he needs these voters to come out and turn out for him.
He's got to prove it.
Go ahead, Alan.
He's got to prove it. I mean, he makes these claims, voter fraud. Where? When? As Lynn just said. And he, you know, Rudy Giuliani, hear him say, oh, he's just talking about the media. He actually tweeted out, as you pointed out, it's illegitimate at the polls. He is questioning the legitimacy of an election, which is extremely dangerous. We have a peaceful transition of power in this country, and he's inciting people to try to rise up and claim a rigged election. This is the most dangerous thing we've seen in years in an American election.